Yeah, I had a friend who was legit addicted to it, and he was in the hospital, like on machines and stuff, had a crazy physique. And they would be like, you need to rest, just lay down, you're on such and such medication, your body's going through such and such. And the nurses would come in and catch him like off the side of his bed with his feet on the bed doing push ups off the ground. Like, they'd be like, dude, you're going to die. You need to lay down.
Welcome to Sunny Side Podcast. I am your host, David. Who am I talking with?
Jason Stewart, how you doing?
Good, good. So, who is Jason Stewart?
Oh, Jason Stewart is a father of three, entrepreneur, adventurist. I am a founder of companies, a creator. I founded Epic Fighting, Epic Exotics, and Stewart Estates Real Estate. I've been doing real estate I've been a licensed realtor for 20 years, but I was doing real estate since I was 21. I tried to buy my first property when I was 18, but had some hiccups and ended up getting one at 21.
Okay. What was like your first property at 21? What was that?
My first property, 21, was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo off of Picador Boulevard in South San Diego, right off of Palm Avenue.
Okay. Wow. So what year was that?
2001.
Okay. Man, crazy how the prices of homes are just skyrocketing. Like I saw a meme today and it was a kid's playhouse, like those little plastic ones. And it
Yeah.
was like a for sale sign, 425 on it. It's like that's about it. It's like just
Well, what's crazy?
thinking back.
When I bought my first condo, the neighbors came out and they saw me as like this young kid. I was like
Hmm.
21 years old, and it was a Mexican neighborhood, and the abuelitas and stuff came out and they were like, "Mijo, pobrecito, like you poor thing, like you paid 126,000 for this condo. I got mine for 50,000. She got hers for 47,000." Like everyone was telling me, like I got screwed. I can't believe you that they did this to you. Like we should have never let them do this to you. Like I was a victim. And like a couple years later, it was worth like 300,000. It was just like, but it's all relative, right? Like we always think, oh, the people who bought it this.
Yeah.
I live in Coronado, and these houses are, you're lucky to touch something for 3 million. Some of the nicer homes are 10 million, and it's like, well, these
Hmm.
people bought theirs for 100 grand. It's like, yeah, these 80-year-olds bought it, but back then that was a big deal. That 80 grand back then was a really big deal. 100 grand.
Yeah. I mean, you said that your first house was 125. That's like pretty much a down payment now you got to put on some of these houses. And that's
Oh,
just like the initial start.
well, you talk about relative too, because we're San Diego. I have 4 houses in Detroit. I'm trying to get rid of all 4 of them for 300 and something thousand. And I'm talking
Hmm.
4 full houses, like 3 bedroom. One of them is a 4 bedroom, 2 bath, really nice. The other are like regular 3 bedroom, 1 bathish. Um, and, buying these houses for 60, 70 grand a pop. Um, but if that same house out here, like you said, would be, $1 million
Yeah.
to it.
So I'm kind of curious because I'm from Detroit, the Detroit area. Where are they in Detroit?
So I've never been to Detroit. I bought all 4 houses sight unseen. 3 of them are on a street called Salem Street. And one of them
Okay.
is a little bit better neighborhood. The house is a little bit nicer, but it's like a mile away. And that's on a street called Greenview. But they are all in a medium neighborhood, as it's been explained to me. Meaning, like, it's not the hood, but it's also not like gentrified, like the nice neighborhood type of thing. So it's like kind of in the middle there. You
Hmm.
rent, you charge 1,000 to 1,500 on your
Okay.
rent, depending on what you're working with there. And so 3 of them are rented out for close to 1,000. I just haven't raised the rent. I should be charging them at least 1,200. And then one of them, because I just redid the house and everything, I rented it for 1,400.
Okay. For those of
I'm
you that, oh,
pretty
sorry,
crazy.
go ahead.
They're pretty impressive because of, you're getting more than 1% of the purchase price per month. close to two. So the one that's I'm renting for 1,400 a month, I bought it for 60 grand, and so that's more than 2% per month from the purchase price.
Yeah, that's a oddly enough. I mean, Detroit. There are some areas, and for somebody who lives in the Detroit area, there are some areas that are like, oof, I mean, there are some nice parts, but there's a lot of Detroit that I've seen that's like it's
Like
really
that medium area of Detroit, that's like not the worst and not the best,
yeah.
is, is worse in the sense of like what you can get away with there and walking in the street at night and stuff than pretty much
Hmm.
San Diego. So that's why it trips me out when people talk about San Diego or I grew up in San Diego, but in the hood, it's like, you're not familiar with the rest of the country.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's great. I mean, but
levels.
even though oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's different levels of poverty and crime and stuff like that in other areas for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, even though Detroit has some rough areas, I've heard it's one of the best markets for real estate, at least in, 2023 in the country, because like you said, the price to buy versus the price for rent it's such a difference, which obviously is good for somebody like you.
Yeah, and that's what
So
it comes.
it's
Most rich people don't get rich buying the nicest homes in the nicest area. They buy in the areas that the numbers make the most sense. It's like the places where everyone else is scared to invest because they think it's a bad neighborhood. There's opportunities there.
Mhm. And as long as you can, get your paperwork from the city done and you do your due diligence, renters are renters, man. I mean, it doesn't matter where it's at and what the house looks like. It's just as long as you, like you said, as long as the numbers work.
Yeah, and two of my properties are rented to Section 8, and so that's a
Okay.
guaranteed. It's a guaranteed check. Even if Section 8 only pays, say, half the rent, the renter who has to pay the other half, they don't want to mess up their Section 8. So they pay, because if they don't, they get kicked off Section 8 and then they're screwed.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, collecting rent on Section 8 sometimes is more promising than not. So a lot of people are scared of those Section 8 tenants. And I get it if you just put a ton of money remodeling your place. But these people have lived there for 10 years, and each property, I haven't owned them that long, but all three of the tenants on my Salem Street properties have been there over 10 years. I don't see them going anywhere anytime soon. And that's part of the reason why I haven't jacked up the rent. I want to have good faith. It's like when you get a new boss, you instantly have like something against that person until they prove themselves. So I was like, all right, let me go a year or two without touching the rent. Let me fix up some things and still not increase the rent. So then when I do increase the rent, okay, I know I was getting over on him. He fixed some stuff. He was uh, below market rent, and then they don't, fuss as much.
Hmm. So, like, when you started buying properties, how did you scale from 1 to 2 to 3 to, and so on?
Oh man, I'm not much of a scaler. I probably should be, but these four properties, three of them I bought in one transaction, and so it
Hmm.
was 210,000 for all three properties, and then the other one I bought separately from my handyman's. It was kind of like his family friend, cousin type of person. That one was even better deal than the first two. I like the first or the first three. I like the first three because they were all on the same street. So it's like if I call a handyman to go fix something, it's like go ahead and take care of the other one or two houses too if there's something that you can do on there. If you got to collect rent, you can collect it from all three of them at the same time. It's just a kind of a convenience thing. Like they're all like on the same street next door to each other. And then the other
Hmm.
one's like, so it was kind of like if I'm going to open up to a new market and I'm going to have to find a handyman there and a manager and people that I trust to do the bids and the works, that takes a certain amount of effort, you know? And so instead of having one little house that's bringing in $1,000 a month, I might as well have a few. And if I have a few houses there, then it's worth it to create a team there, which is what I have now.
Hmm. So I want to jump over to your MMA experience and just because I wouldn't say I'm like a super fan of MMA, but I definitely enjoy the combat sports.
Yes.
So how did you get started with that?
The MMA thing was interesting. I started off. I was just giving free workouts at my house to like everyone and people, like it was just friends and they would bring friends, and my neighbor ended up getting invited. I didn't even know him that well, but I was trying to be a good neighbor and invite people. You know, you see someone walking down the street, hey, we have workouts every day at my house, 6:30. He ends up coming, and he, after going to a few workouts, he invites a friend, and this friend hears that I'm into MMA. And at the time, I was into MMA because I would train it. I would train my daughter. My daughter was competing actively, and I had done a little bit of competition. You know, I had done some fighting in my past, and the only sport I watched was like UFC. So it was like, all right, this combat sports. And so he said, "Hey, I'm doing a show in Albuquerque. Why don't we partner up and do a show in San Diego when I'm done?" I said, "That's a horrible idea. I have all this stuff going on. I'm in real estate. I have these kids, two at the time." And he said, he came over a couple more times, and he mentioned it again. First two times I was like, yeah, that sounds like a lot of work, you know. But I was reading Tim Ferriss's 4 Hour Work Week on repeat. I had the audiobook in my car, and I was just, you know, repeat, just listening to it. And he says, start a muse. You know, you don't have to quit your day job, which my day job was real estate. Um, you don't have to quit whatever you're doing to make a living, but create something and monetize it that you're passionate about, because even if you know you fail or whatever, you're still getting involved in something that you're interested in, and if you're going to fail at something, it might as well be that. He said, but do it in something that you're good at and or passionate about. But most people don't know what they're passionate about, because to them it's just, you know, it's a thing that I'm into. He said, to figure out what you're passionate about, follow your free time. When you're not obligated to do anything, where do you go? And it's like, okay, so when I work out, I like to work out, you know, doing MMA stuff. I was training my daughter. I don't watch any other sports. And I realized, like, some type of business around martial arts, MMA. And my brain was brainstorming for months about doing some type of like kids MMA gear or MMA apparel.
Okay.
And like, getting all the info, I was looking at distributors. I was looking at how to get that business up and running. And I became good friends with a guy, and our kids would train together. And he was the only other person like in the world who had just coincidentally started a kids MMA gear company. And I was like, well, he already did it. I'm not gonna like compete with him. And so I was still trying to figure out, what's it gonna be, what could it be. And then the third time that guy asked me, I said, oh, maybe that could be the thing. And so I'm kind of an extreme, like you said, how do you scale? I'm like, I don't really scale. I bought 4 houses in Detroit, you know, three at once and one within a year of that one. With cars, I went from just having an Escalade, always only having one car pretty much my whole life, to 10 exotic cars in 1 year, right? I bought a
Hmm.
Ferrari, a Lambo, two Bentleys, ended up with eventually three Bentleys, not at the same time, McLaren, Slingshot, Vanderhall, Porsche, Maybach. You know, I still have like 6 or 7 of them right outside here.
Wow.
Um, and so that's kind of how I work. I'm kind of an extremist. And so once I started getting the wheels turning about doing the MMA promotion, I ended up doing basically all of the work. And whenever he came back from doing his MMA show, he was just like, you know what, you're killing it. I don't see how I could add any more value. And he said, good luck. And I was like, okay. And yeah, I was on my own. Just realized I had the dryer on. Let me turn this off, just in case it's creating background noise.
So from that point on, then you kind of just kind of went your own separate ways then, right?
Yeah, because my value add was going to be that I was in the gym because of my daughter was the real like superstar. My daughter was a little kind of MMA prodigy. She was competing in tournaments, doing pancration fights and jujitsu fights, and she was killing it. And so I knew most of the people at the gym because I would take her. But while I was there, I would usually try to get some training in myself. And and so I would do the classes while she would do the classes. I would do a workout while she would do a workout. And um, so my value add was going to be, I know the coaches, I know a lot of the fighters. A lot of the famous fighters were coaches at the gyms before they made like a ton of money. And even then, they still did it for passion whenever they had the time when they weren't in camp, a lot of them. And so I was like going to be the negotiator because I'm in real estate. So I was going to negotiate. I knew a lot of people and I knew a lot of the MMA community and the gyms, all the contacts at the gyms. And he was going to do more like insurance and, taking care of like a lot of the stuff that he learned how to do for that show. Well, it turns out that you're pretty much starting from scratch for California anyway, because it's a different state. That stuff was, to me, it was just like checks off of the checklist of like, as I'm going through the motions and like, how much is it to get a promoter's license? How much is it to do this? How much? I just went ahead and did it. Oh, $500 for that. Oh, go ahead and register that. And I, yeah, by the time he came, he saw that I already had like the website and the Facebook was going and fights were already being matched up and our graphics were looking pretty cool. And I just had a whole team of people doing stuff. And he was like, bro, if you need my help, let me know. But it looks like you got it going. And our first show was very successful. It's funny, people come up to me like, man, this is so amazing how you guys have grown. I was like, I don't think you've been coming consistently throughout the years because our first show was a big hit. And, our biggest show we ever had was probably our fourth event. People
Hmm.
talk about the events that like had the biggest crowds. And we've had some where we probably squeezed in even more people than Epic 4. But on Epic 4, we turned away hundreds of people, probably close to 1,000 people couldn't get in. Like people were texting me coming from Orange County in LA, and I was like, "Don't even come. You can't get in. I'll feel bad if you come all that way." And they're like, "I'm already
Wow.
halfway there." And so it was a quality problem. Um, but yeah, so we had success off of the very first show, and it was just tons of promoting, tons of really focusing in on the fighter and spreading the word to the fighters fans and the fighters family members and making sure that not every fighter is the best at promoting. It's just like not every attorney is the best business person. That's why when they open their own practice, a lot of them flop. They're better off working for the government or being a public defender, things like that, because they just focus on what they're good at. Some fighters are great at it, hyping it up, letting other family know something. Some are scared to death for someone they know to come watch them fight. And so I would be on there like tagging them and posting on their Facebook and everyone, this dude's fighting, come support him. I didn't know, Hector was fighting. And so, yeah, that was what we used to do to get the crowds, posters and flyers everywhere.
Okay. So like, say that you wanted to get Joe Schmo to, be on a fight. Like, how would you get that person or that matching? How would you get them?
Well, the cool thing is that most of the fighters are dying to fight, and that's what separates the fighter from the general population. It's like fighter is in their training like, this is working in the gym. I have to do this in a real fight. I have to. And they're just like, they're putting so much time and effort and work into having that experience, and it's kind of anticlimactic for them if they don't have that experience. So a lot of times the biggest issue is fighters that want to fight without their coach's approval. And so a lot of the
Mm.
relationship is with the coaches. Matter of fact, I would say 90% of it is with the coaches, in the sense that like, we're not going to the fighter and saying, well, you fight. We're going to the fighter's coach. And that's how you can separate, just in case you're nervous about, is this guy a good matchup? Is this guy as good as he says? Or is he better than he says? Is he sandbagging? You just ask the coach. The coach will be like, "Oh no, that's a legit, purple belt level grappler. He's got some decent wrestling, wrestled all through high school, and his hands are pretty decent, and his kicks are all right." And it's like, okay, would you match him up against this person? And the coaches typically want their fighter to have a good fight, but they don't want to throw their fighter to the wolves either, right? They're not going to throw a white belt up against a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And so the coaches are the more realistic ones, because fighters, there's real fighters who are ready to fight anyone, And then there's people who are like really talented, but just don't have that fighter mentality, and they're scared to fight anyone that's good. They think everyone's better than them when they're actually the most skilled. You know, it's really interesting. So you have both ends of the spectrum. You got these kids off the street that are like, I'm 100 and 0. I heard that so many times when I was doing my first event. I match made my first event. Just so many dudes off the street. Who's your coach? I don't have a coach, but I'm 100 and 0 in street fights. And I tell you right now, when I get in there and fight, I'm no joke and this and that. And it's like, I know how this plays out. And I'm like, but just in case, go to this gym, talk to coach such and such. And then coach such and such will be like, yeah, our 15-year-old girls were tapping him out, making him cry. You know, it's like, yeah, because people don't realize like jujitsu is a real thing. Like if you got like a 13-year-old that's been training for 5 years in jujitsu, that 13-year-old will jack up your average adult. It's just like
I'm sure.
people don't get it. Like you don't know, you're not technically skilled to get this choke off of your neck. The smaller they are, the more it hurts. It's like a wire around your neck. And so if you don't know the defense to it, if you don't know how to not get in that, you know, it's your amount of push-ups and how fast you can run and long you run doesn't help you much, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. But
Am I sideways on your thing? Or is
yeah,
that? Oh, am I?
yeah.
Say something. Okay, cool.
How long? So, like, when you initially had the idea, okay, I want to do something with fights, and then to the point that you're at now, how long did that take you to grow that?
Man, it was so quick. I want to say within 3 months of the idea, we did our first event.
Really?
Yeah, it was quick. It was
Wow,
so quick.
that's really fast.
Yeah, because he did his first show. His first show was already coming up when he first mentioned it, and his was like it was called Cinco de Mayo, but it was like the day before or after. So it was like
Okay.
the 4th of May, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, and ours was June 26th. And so
Okay.
yeah. So like
But man, 3 months. That's so fast.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
like,
it
what
was
was that
quick. I
three
mean, it
months
was it
like?
was really like kind of quicker than that. I mean, it was like by the time it was like up and running, I was getting fighters and stuff. It was like 2 months, you know. It was quick. And then the crazy thing is we did one like 6 weeks after. It was like immediately after. I mean, I used to
Mm-hmm.
just work so hard. The first 6 months of running that company, I didn't even work out. I was just so busy. It was just like working out was the thing that it was my non-negotiable. And I
Mm-hmm.
was literally so busy with doing everything. I didn't work out for 6 months. It's the only time in my life I ever did that. I got skinny fat. You know, I kind of, you know, that where you don't have muscle, but you're not lean either. It was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember when I started working out again, I was just like worried if I could do anything, you know, and it bounced
Yeah.
right back. But
I'm a gym freak myself, and I mean, I, I think the first time I went to the gym was like maybe sophomore year of high school, and I'm 25 now, and so it's just a part of my day. Like, it's not like, oh, I just take off or whatever because I'm like, no, that's I fit my life around the gym. Like, I don't fit the gym
yeah,
around my life, you know.
exactly.
So it's
Yeah,
just
that's the non-negotiable. That's the biggest rock that if you get it in the jar first, everything else will fit in. But it's also the biggest rock to where if you put all the pebbles and sand and little rocks and water into the jar, the big rock never fits. And so that's why you get to the end of the day and everyone has all these excuses on why they didn't get their workout in the day. It's like, just make it your first thing. Do 20
mhm.
minutes, you know, and then
Yep.
get ready for your day.
Yeah, 100%. And some people say, "Oh, you're addicted." It's like you are correct. I am addicted to the gym. Correct.
Yeah.
And it's
I
like
mean,
it's the best thing
there's
you can get
worse.
addicted to.
Yeah, there's worse things you can get addicted to for sure. I mean, yeah, I had a friend who was legit addicted to it, and he was in the hospital, like on machines and stuff, had a crazy physique. And they would be like, you need to rest, just lay down, you know, you're on such and such medication, your body's going through such and such. And the nurses would come in and catch him like off the side of his bed, with his feet on the bed doing push-ups off the ground. Like they'd be like, dude, you're gonna die. You need to lay down.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but he's had an incredible ever since he joined the military, like 19 years old, whatever. He's had this impressive physique. Like it's just that's the one thing that he never quit. He never quit working out, and it's like it served him well. There's a lot of other things that we could all improve on, right? We all have our strengths and weaknesses, but it's good that became his strength because that opens up a lot of doors. People look
Yeah.
at you different. People respect you different. Whenever someone's giving me life advice and they're a little out of shape, it's like, you got to give me advice in some type of niche on something that you succeeded at. Because overall life, you can't be winning if your health is so out of whack.
Yep. And I mean, I don't want to name names, but I've seen pictures of like the quote unquote health experts from different countries, and
Right?
they're like,
America's is ridiculous.
yeah, it's
These are
like,
the people that were setting all these rules and telling us what protocols we need to follow and what are you talking about, bro? You don't work out, you don't eat healthy, you look like you're dying.
I
But
know
in other
it's like,
countries, those people are in shape.
I mean, you think how many pounds overweight are they? And they're telling on TV, on broadcasting, oh, this is what you should eat. This is what it's like. Maybe you should take your own advice there, pal.
Right, right. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's not only that they're overweight, but they just look unhealthy. Like, their skin, they look tired, they look dying.
Yeah.
I've seen some vibrant, glowing, overweight people. They're not it.
Yeah. But ironically, they're the ones telling us how to be healthy.
Yeah, exactly. I always pay attention to who's giving me the advice for sure.
Yeah. But I want to thank you for coming on, and I really appreciate your advice that you gave and just your stories of how you did what you did.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. I'm glad we were able to make it work. I know we've been trying to make it happen for a while.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure I enjoyed our conversation. I'm sure everyone listening will too.
Absolutely, man. If anyone has any questions, feel free to DM me. I'm on all the socials. Uh, Jason O. Stewart is most of the socials go there.
Okay.
Cool.
Good to know. Thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me.